You were, you are.
Yeah, I am.
So, Pat, you started with us in kind of mid-April.
Yeah.
And you've read Weight Loss Apocalypse. We prepared you and everything.
Yes.
And during this is your first round, right?
Yes.
So you've struggled.
Just this last...
I'm going to shut the door.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep on talking.
I struggled. The first 3 weeks I didn't struggle, and then that fourth week I was on a trip, and I really struggled during the trip because old tapes were, going out to eat and socializing, and I really struggled that after coming back from the trip. I struggled then.
Yeah, kind of the stuff you gotta learn. The stuff you gotta learn to deal with, anyways.
Yep.
Just because.
Yeah.
You live in America, and this is what it's like.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So, one of the things that I think you tell me. You came to awareness of was you really needed some help.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because it was all emotional.
Yes, and I did the HCG protocol before when I lived in Florida with a doctor.
That's right.
But I did not do, the piece I was missing was the emotional piece. And when I saw saw the article in the paper in Minnetonka, is how I first heard about you. Mm-hmm. And I told my husband as I'm reading this, I said, oh my God, that's what I was saying to Dr. Parker in Florida. That's the piece that's missing, is the emotional piece. Yeah. And I told him that when I was down there. He'd say, why did you cheat? And I'd say, you don't understand. I said, look at you, you're a skinny little doctor. You're a skinny little man. You don't understand what I'm going through. I said, I can't explain to you. I said, you need a therapist on staff. Mm-hmm. That's what I told him. Because I said, the emotional piece is, I emotionally eat.
Someone that understands emotional eating and the behavior of it.
I've done that all my life, for the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm. So a huge part of the process that I have everybody consider is letting go of weighing yourself.
Right.
And, I think a big part of weight is the fact that it's a form of control. It's your way of, understanding the outcome and it'll dictate your behavior. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't lose, but how you're perceiving why you're doing what you're doing. Do you think that people that don't have emotional eating issues, do you think that they weigh themselves and change their eating behavior based on weight?
No, probably not.
No, not at all.
I don't know.
In general, a lot of people do weigh themselves and they don't have an emotional reaction to it. It doesn't change. So whether they're up 2 pounds or down 2 pounds, it just doesn't make a difference because their decisions to eat aren't dictated by a number on the scale. It's dictated by how they feel. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to teach you is the reverse of what the diet industry teaches you, that your weight is a problem and that therefore we've got to change the way you eat and we're going to monitor weight to make sure that your body is responding. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the question is why you're not hungry. Right. Am I right? So or let me rephrase that. Your hunger is manageable. Right. With the very low calorie protocol.
Yes.
Do you see a need to add food to the protocol?
No.
Okay, so it ultimately...
No, I only had one time this week where I had a problem. I was out in a social situation. And then I ate more out of habit than...
Out of just...
Hunger. I wasn't hungry. I ate because I was in a social...
Sure, but it has nothing to do with physical need.
No.
You feel great.
Yes.
Okay, and you're managing with less than Dr. Simeon's maximum allotment. Because Dr. Simeon's created the protocol as a maximum allotment. Granted, if you're hungrier, I do suggest people eat more. But without hunger, you shouldn't. Anyhow, if you're not physically being deprived, right?
Right.
And you're eating with hunger, do you feel that you need to be rewarded for that behavior?
I guess not. I don't know.
Because you're just matching your biology. Your biology is telling you, you're trusting that your body is capable of telling you when and how much to eat
but
based on
hunger. I've not listened to my body for 40 years. So
the question, but do you feel like you understand your hunger?
Yes. Yeah, I do after being on the low calorie.
Yeah, you feel like you're getting better at really not only identifying true hunger.
I can identify when I'm getting full now too.
Which is the hardest part. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
So... what we need to think about is if your biology is, if you're going to use your biology to eat, if you're not starving, are you being deprived?
No.
Okay, so then why would you feel you need a reward with weight?
I shouldn't need a reward, no.
Well, would you be willing to give up reward and just like eating with your biochemical feedback from the brain?
You mean give up the scale?
That's exactly what I mean.
That's a hard one for me. I don't know why that's so hard.
Well, because you feel deprived.
Yeah.
You know, your entitlement to reward is equal to
I want to know
deprivation.
what that number is. I don't know why.
Well, because you've been defined by that. For some reason,
I
someone told you sucked because you're fat.
Well, and I worry about my knees, too. I mean,
I
have new knees.
Hold on. Crap. That's crap.
To last.
Hold on. Crap. Because you're not worried about it the moment you're eating excessively, are you?
No.
And eating excessively is what's causing the weight gain.
Right.
So what the hell are you thinking? Oh, yeah, my knees. I need to lose weight for them. Really?
I do.
Why don't you think about that when you're excessively eating?
I know. Because
your weight isn't the problem.
My emotion is out of control.
Correct.
At that point.
So it does not make sense to tell your body that its job to lose fat is the indication of success, when in reality, it's your job to stop eating dysfunctionally.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the weight and the fat is an outcome of dysfunctional eating.
Right. It's not my body's fault.
Well, yeah. It's like you're holding accountable your body as if your body's the one that's at fault.
By going on the scale, I'm holding
my
body accountable.
By going on the
Not
scale.
holding myself accountable?
No.
Because but you just said that's an outcome.
Then why would you need the scale to motivate? Yeah. Your decisions are based on the scale.
Yeah, it is.
It's not based on desire to change dysfunctional behavior. So it's misplacing blame. Mm-hmm. As if it's your body's fault that it's fat. When in reality, the fat gain that your body has accumulated has kept you alive.
What do you mean?
Every time you eat dysfunctionally, you are countering your body's biology. And the outcome, in order to keep you alive and keep energy homeostasis, it is required to have fat gain as an outcome. It is a reaction to, it is a consequence. It is a consequence that keeps you alive.
Okay.
So your body has done nothing wrong. It's actually doing what it's supposed to do very well. It's been very successful at its job.
Yeah, definitely.
And you continue to use that removal of fat to determine if the body's working or not. When in reality, the body's working wonderfully. It always has. So why are you putting it at fault by using weight as a guide for success? When in reality, success needs to be monitored by your desire to eat with hunger, no matter what the physical outcome.
And there's a certain amount of approval or shame, depending on what the number is, that I get out of that scale. Not as much about my body, but it's like if it goes down, then I'm good. I'm good that week. If it goes up, then I'm shameful. And I mean that's how I've lived my whole life.
So
shame-based.
If we take away the scale, then what is your value being defined by if it's not defined by the scale? It sounds like a huge amount of your value as a person has been placed on the weight of your body.
Yep.
Would you take a child and put them on a scale and tell them to be shameful if they gain?
No.
Okay.
I would never do that to my daughter. No, I would never do to my daughter what I do to myself.
Okay, so all I'm asking you to do is stop using the scale to define your value as a person.
It just dawned on me when you were talking that's what I do, and that's part of the whole shaming that I do to myself.
Some of this is just the diet industry too.
Yeah.
This is how they market. They put emotion tied to your weight. They put an association. They identify with shame. Mm-hmm. They use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
To take advantage of your insecurity and your low self-worth relative to weight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that anorexia is the flip side of what you're dealing with?
Yeah, I know.
It's actually the same thing.
I've been bulimic.
Well, it's the same thing.
It's coming back. That's what scares me.
Well, the protocol can do that, especially if you use it as a diet. All of this stuff out there, where it's a bunch of correction days, obsessive monitoring of the scale. It's like powerful emotional eating disorder. It's a cesspool of emotional eating disorders if you really look at the diet industry. I'm hoping she answers that. Anyways, so a huge part of recovery is letting go of weight defining who you are. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to re-navigate your identity?
Yeah, I want to, because I'm sick of the insanity of it.
Okay, so you've got to be willing to recognize that weighing yourself is perpetuating the insanity.
Yeah.
And if you stop weighing yourself, I want you to think about what then defines how happy you are.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not your weight.
Right.
Are you willing to find out?
Yeah.
What's the risk? Because there's a risk.
What do you mean?
If you let go of weighing yourself, what is the risk?
Well, I'll be lost to try to figure it out.
Well, what's the vulnerability? Can I tell you mine?
Okay.
It was that I was going to gain hundreds of pounds if I stopped weighing.
Yeah, the fear.
That I would gain a huge amount of weight if I couldn't control. If I didn't know my weight, then how could I restrict my body? How would I know if it's working or not? But if you let go of weight, then the vulnerability is that without that feedback, that you could potentially gain a lot of fat.
Well, that's my history when I don't weigh myself.
Well, is it the not weighing yourself, or is it the excessive eating?
It's the eating. Yeah.
Say that one more time.
It's the eating that causes the weight gain. It's not the weighing myself.
It isn't, is it?
No.
So the question is then, if
I let go of the eating along with the weighing, then I have sanity in my life.
Totally, but it starts, to me, it's, at least for me, and what I'm getting from you is that the process begins with letting go of weight. Then the question is, well, if you're not going to be going on another diet, then how does that influence, if dieting isn't an option, if restricting food for the outcome of weight loss is never an option, and it isn't right now, then how are you going to eat?
I'm going to listen to my body.
That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you have to trust. This is where you have to let go of. You have to trust it and let yourself feel vulnerable for a while. Yeah. That you just do what your body says and know that it, honestly, if you eat with hunger, and the way I'm teaching you, and you gain a ton of fat, there's something wrong biologically with you, and you need to see a doctor. Wouldn't you agree?
You're right, yeah.
Because if you keep yourself in that functional zone, you've got to trust that your body's not going to backfire, that it's giving you appropriate signals at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
Do you see how simple this is?
Yeah.
How when you really, really are ready to let go, letting go of this scale immediately needs to happen. You won't get anywhere if you don't let it go.
How did you know I hadn't let go of it? You just knew. Because I told you last week I was going to let go of it. But
I know how hard it is because it's a form of control. Oh my God, I got up the next morning,
I'm like, just one more day. I'll just wait myself one more day.
One more day. Don't do it. You have to really not care anymore.
Yeah.
Because you've cared way too much about what that number says. And don't you want to experience life that when it was before you weighed yourself and thought it was, you were judged early on in life, early on, based on weight.
Yeah. And
that trauma you're reliving it. You're continuing to perpetuate that. Knowing what you know, if you could go back to that little girl, how old were you?
14.
If you could go back to that 14-year-old girl and tell her something, what would it be?
You're beautiful the way you are.
You ready to live that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing.